This is Jerod Lakefield, a novel by Don Fensler, Part 43, Phase 3. Jerod's place. We arrived at Jerod's flat. There were kids hanging around outside, 15 or 20. There were also a half dozen adults or so that were waiting for a glimpse of Jerod Lakefield. He was the biggest rock star on earth at the moment. He couldn't go out with being besieged by autograph seekers, groupies, and all the others who wanted to touch his greatness. He was too nice to refuse the autograph request, but always kept moving. And when he came to his destination, he would politely apologize for having to go, then say goodbye, and he was gone. He never made anyone feel ignored or left out or neglected. Being with Jerod never left you feeling bad. It left you in a state of wonder and awe, but you never felt small or stupid or that you were an annoyance, even now. We buzzed his apartment while the fans and the hanger-ons looked on at us, mystified at our brazenness, that we just walked up to the door like that. Then we heard Jerod's voice, "Come up. I was expecting you." What? He was expecting us? Jennifer was right. The sun was enormous. I made a note to myself to Google, "enormous sun, what causes it?" We walked into his place, nothing fancy. It just seemed Jerod Lakefield-ish. It was darkly lit, and there was an aquarium. It was as if the fish were calmly and knowingly staring at us. Even his fucking beta fish had an aura. There was no TV or computer or stereo that I could see. Jerod still hadn't looked at us or asked why we were there. He suddenly turned and looked at us with those eyes that could pierce steel. "Please have a seat," he said softly, pointing to a sofa in the middle of the room. And then suddenly from another room appeared Timothy Mannion. Jennifer and I were startled, both confused and startled. We said hi to Timothy as calmly as possible, as if everything was cool. Our eyes moved back and forth between Timothy and Jerod. Was Jerod going to tell us he was gay? This thought, calling to talk about sexual orientation, seemed stupid, too small, and I dismissed it from my mind immediately. Something bigger was coming, and Timothy, Jennifer, and I were to be a part of it. I felt to the core of my being that something huge was about to happen. I was right. "You probably wonder why we are here," I said. "I'm sorry we didn't call first. I should have called first." "There was no need to call," said Jerod. He wasn't looking yet. He was looking at the window with the dark curtains drawn, beyond which was the sun, seemingly stretched out to the corners of the sky. The dimness of his room, and the brilliance outside was disconcerting. It must be fun being Jerod Lakefield these days," said Jennifer, chuckling, obviously in a fake way, obviously trying to lighten things up, even though this obviously was not the time to lighten things up. "I can't imagine." Then her voice trailed off. There was a silence. During the silence, Jerod Lakefield was staring at Jennifer, but he didn't say a word. Then finally he smiled and said, "Yes, it's been fun." Then the smile disappeared, and he continued, "Lots of fun being cooped up like a fucking chicken." Jennifer and I both jumped back at the violence of his words and the way he said them, the words that seemed so un-Jerod-like. Okay. Then Jerod jumped back to being Jerod Lakefield. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I'm just so tired." He did look tired. "Truly, I'm glad to be with people now," he continued. "With those people," then added so mysteriously, even creepily, "those people who won't be here for long." He said, pointing vaguely towards the door. Then the smile disappeared, and he said, "It's been hard, and it's going to get harder. That's why I had you come here today. They won't be here for long." "They won't be here for long? It's going to get harder?" What did he mean? And he had us come today? Wasn't it us that had shown up uninvited? I had no idea what was happening at this moment, but I felt that all us being there is something that he knew about a long time ago. I was scared and looked over at Jennifer, and she looked scared too. It wasn't the kind of scared where you felt like something bad was going to happen and you knew what it was. It was the kind of fear you felt when you knew something was going to happen, something big, but something you had no control over, that you would lose control of your own life and your own fate, change in a big way. Suddenly, the door slammed. There was no one in the room except the four of us, and yet the door slammed. It shook the entire house. Jennifer and I yelled out, almost screamed. Timothy did not scream, but his eyes were wide open and seemed to be screaming out. The house shook like the world was coming to an end for about a second. Then there was 10 seconds of calm. Jennifer and I were holding each other, and Jennifer was crying uncontrollably. We looked over at Jerod Lakefield, and he was holding his head in his hands, calm, but in a kind of psychic distress. I wasn't sure if he was crying, so I started to ask him what was wrong, and he yelled, "Silence!" It was a voice that wasn't particularly loud or angry, but it shook you to the core of your being, and I had a feeling it wasn't Jerod Lakefield. But it was Jerod Lakefield. And now he was standing up. He was gigantic, though his height had not changed physically one bit. He was gigantic. His eyes were closed. Then they opened. It was like he was trying to burn a hole into the ceiling. And then he spoke, and it was like fire shooting out from every cell in his lung. "Satan, get ye away from this world. Get ye away from this world. Your time is about to end. Your time is about to end. Run from this earth now or burn in your own hell for all eternity. To the abyss." Please understand, this was not the voice of a man. It was monstrous and yet somehow beautiful. It made every cell in your body want to explode. It made you want to die, and it made you want to live forever. Jerod Lakefield was not finished speaking. His eyes were closed, pondering. You wanted him to finish, and yet you yearned for him to go on. Every doubt you ever had crushed you like a bug, and then your heart was clean as water, and you knew it all. The fires of the God in heaven, the love, the power of the God in heaven, the time has come, and you will be as nothing. You will be as nothing. You demanded the war, and now the war is here. And all the evil and pain and anguish that you placed in the hearts of man, woman, and child will come to an end, and you will come to an end. Do you understand me? Prince of Death, you will come to an end. From his voice, you felt the presence of great evil in the room. And what you felt, strangest of all, was the protective love of Jerod Lakefield envelop you and make you calm. Jennifer was no longer crying, but had a look of wonder. Her eyes were lit up like stars. Jerod was still staring upward, but you knew he saw far more than the ceiling. You felt like he was looking at both God and the devil and every being on the face of the earth. His eyes were on fire. "Do you understand, you Lucifer, the Impaler? Your time is done. Your time is done, and this is the last night. You will see it. It is the last night you will darken. It is over. And my God in heaven, I will reign and take over both the dark and the light." Jennifer collapsed as if dead on the sofa. Jennifer and I rushed to him, panicked in despair, but he was not dead. He looked up at us with the saddest, worriest eyes I had ever seen in my life. I could not speak. I knew I should not speak. Timothy looked on from a few feet away. He looked exhausted, but seemed to know more than we did about what was going on. Then a still, quiet voice came from Jerod Lakefield's voice, as if from nowhere. "You must go to the game tomorrow night, but you must not sit behind me," Jerod said. "You will come to the game tomorrow night, and you will sit on the other side away from me, on the other side away from me." "What do you mean?" I asked. "What is happening, Jerod?" "Come to the game tomorrow night, and you will sit on the other side away from me. Jerod said again. But, I said, and then he interrupted and said, just do as I say. Tell no one of what you saw here tonight, but write down everything you saw here tonight. Write down everything you saw since the first day you met me until it ends tomorrow. Ends tomorrow? I started to speak again, but Jerod said, you must go now. Please go and tell no one. And Jerod got up and walked, seemingly floated into another room and closed the door. I started to ask Timothy Mannion, what the hell is going on? But he shook his head and said, you should go like Jerod says. He tells me everything will be okay. As he says, tell no one. Who was I to tell that would have not put me in a fucking loony bin at the earliest possible moment if I told him about what I had just seen? Okay, I said lamely, totally drained and empty and confused. Jennifer and I walked out of Jerod's apartment and walked outside. The people outside were no longer there. The sun was also gone. What just happened, Michonne? Jennifer asked. We were in the car and she was frantic. I was trying to keep it together, but it was not easy. I was frantic too. We left Jerod Lakefield's apartment without another word being said. I was thinking how Jerod was weeping as we walked into the other room. I was thinking how Jerod was weeping as we walked into the other room. There seemed to be a soft but powerful wind swirling around the room, even though this was impossible. The windows and doors were closed. I thought about all these things that happened just a few minutes ago. I thought how Jerod had gently raised his hand, and Jennifer and I were mesmerized by that hand and pointed to the door as he walked away from us. It was time to go, and as we looked back at Jerod Lakefield, and I knew that something was ending and something was about to begin. It was not a good feeling. I was so sad. I was in no condition to console Jennifer. I don't know what just happened, I said lamely. And then I looked over at my beautiful Jennifer and said, and what is going to happen tomorrow night? What does he mean by not fucking sitting near him? Say not to sit near him, Jennifer. I'm so sorry, Jennifer. I had no fucking idea what I was apologizing to Jennifer for. Something bad is going to happen, I said, and Jennifer wailed even louder. Honey, it's the end of the world, I said to her. The end of part 43.